meeting. It's November 4th, 2013. It's 6:32 p.m. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, this evening we have 8 Boy Scouts, could possibly be more, present from Troop 87. We're working on a communications merit badge. In order for them to receive their badges, they are required to attend a selectmen's meeting. So I'd like to welcome, maybe put your hand up if I say your name right, Joshua Gazon, Jeremy Frederick, Matt Hershey, Ethan Mandarano, Cameron Santos, Jeremy Scanlon, Parker Watts, Philip Watts, Christian O'Connor, Joe Porcari, Stephen Sample, and James, is it Wester?
Vesta.
Vesta, I'm sorry. Welcome to our meeting. Anything special you wanted us to do? Okay, then we'll just move along.
The adults with them, Don.
Yes, maybe they can say their name just so everyone knows.
Elisa O'Connor.
Tom Frederick.
Patty Garzone.
Dave Porcari. Stan Sample.
Thank you all for coming and supporting the kids. It's a great thing you guys do. Okay, Joe, if you could move the payroll warrant.
Okay, sure. Boys, you know what we're doing here? We're gonna release money from the town's budget to pay for bills. We do this every time we have a meeting, okay? We have to do it openly, all right? We have to pay our bills here too, so, all right? So payroll warrant number 14-18 for $136,240.22.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
And I abstain on the payroll warrant because I have a family member who's on a department in town. So it wouldn't be right for me to vote on that. Okay, that's why I'm not voting.
Okay.
The next one is the deduct warrant, number 14-16A for $21,680.91.
Would you like to second it then?
Second that.
All in favor?
All right. And the bill warrant of number 14-17 for the amount of $902,580.50.
Second on that, Joe.
All in favor?
All right.
Okay, thank you. If we could have Stephen give us a report on a project he'd like to do.
Alright, for those of you here who don't know, I'm Stephen Sample. I am working towards my Eagle, and one of the requirements is to have a project. And my project I proposed and got approved by the council was to work on a system of trails down at the end of Center Street by the Foxford line right on the water. My brother's project's there and has a parking lot, and I was gonna make a trail from there up to the just system of trails that are already up there, clean them, make them more visible, make a map of them, and then have a trail marker down at the end of the, or at the start of the trail, rather at the parking lot, and clean it up. We started my very first work day a couple weeks ago, and a neighbor in town, not named, has come forward to the scout office and said they see it as not a real good thing to have it up there, and it's gonna draw the wrong crowd of people. So they asked us to go back to my beneficiary, which was the Groveland Rec Department, and see what we wanna do with there, and then they forwarded me on to the Board of Selectmen, see how you guys would like to approach it.
Okay, let me ask a question first. Have you seen that it is town property?
I have, I actually have all the maps here if you wanna see it. All the property there is the Haverhill Water Department, but they feel that since it's their property, but it is in Groveland, that they forward me to the Groveland Rec Department as my beneficiary, but all the property there is indeed, Haverhill property.
Okay. So the trail that you're planning to do is from where the bus turnaround used to be,
Mm-hmm.
so it'll go up the hill.
Yep. And connect to the back of the trails.
So that trail eventually comes back down that road that goes up, like towards the ski tow? At the sharper corner on Center Street?
It
Does that
wasn't-
tie in there?
It was not gonna connect in there. I can show you the maps.
Okay, yeah, why don't we look at that? In case everyone didn't know, his brother's project was where there's a launching area, that goes into Johnson's Pond so people can launch their boats. There's some grills there that you can cook at.
It was a very nice project.
Yeah.
So the one on your right is the trail system.
Okay, so start us from, on this one, whereabouts you are.
The parking lot is right about there,
Okay,
and it's gonna loop up into the green belt, and the trail systems are up in here, which is shown on here. The parking lot is there.
Mm-hmm.
The pen that you can barely see is the trail I will be making, and
Okay.
these are all the systems of trails up here. This is that road you're talking about, which we will
It is,
not be
yeah.
using.
Okay. But basically, it'll tie those trails together.
Yes.
Okay.
are these Haver's trails?
They are in.
They are Haverhill property.
Okay, and who maintains them?
No one.
You?
They're already up there, already established.
So did you have to get any permission from Haverhill?
Yep, I talked to Havel Water because it's all on their land, and they said they approve of it, but they feel that the Groveland Rec should be beneficiary to it.
Was it Bob Wood that you dealt with?
Yep.
over there?
Yes.
That's who I talked to.
Did he give you a letter
I was gonna ask
stating?
that too. It'd be good if he said that he has
I
no problem.
believe I have his signature.
All right, well,
approving of
maybe
it.
if he wouldn't mind, if he could just send you a letter stating that you have permission to tie into those trails. And then I would imagine that, it should be an okay thing.
How long's the project last approximately? You
It
don't know?
depends how many people I get to
Till you get into it,
work.
you won't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, trees.
So, I just wanted, I know we have somebody doesn't want that activity over there, but how about the other neighbors? Did you talk with the rest of the neighbors?
I didn't. I actually talked to one neighbor at the end of the street, and he is all for it because he does a lot of hiking, and he says the people that he's run into on the trails are all good people, walking dog stuff, and he's really looking forward to this project.
I expect that to be
How
true.
many feet or what's the, how long are the trails that you're gonna be blazing?
Mileage, I'm not sure,
Mileage?
but walking it all, it took about 20 minutes.
That's close to a mile altogether, I think.
Sounds like a nice project to me.
And Donnie, you had a question about
I-
trees?
Well, do you have to cut any trees? Or is it just small stuff?
It's
clearing?
small stuff within under an inch, which is greenbelt requirement,
Okay.
which is under an inch we can cut, but most of it we're trying to avoid, so we don't have to do much cutting.
Have you met with our conservation people?
I believe I have.
Okay.
Mike Dempsey.
Mike Dempsey,
Brad.
I've talked to Mike Dempsey throughout the project, yeah.
Carl, yeah,
Okay.
good.
Again, that somebody probably should just
It's a
make
good
sure that they're
resource
aware
to
of.
speak to them.
Okay.
And we probably should, maybe get communication with the other neighbors or something. Is that what you're thinking?
No, the other neighbors love the area and love to see people enjoy it. I've talked with them before, the Pappases, the Currys, I'm forgetting some people, but I don't think it's something that we have to go knock on everybody's door, do you?
No, I don't, I just.
It's only making something nicer and more enjoyable. for
Well,
people.
whatever, that's the normal standard, but some people don't see that as a standard, so, what's the process? Do we knock on every door? I think it would be in your best interest to knock on a few more doors, maybe not all, but a few more.
Okay.
So when they see you out there, they'll know what you're doing
Yeah.
too. It's nice to get to know them.
And,
And nice
try to
people out
understand,
there.
and understand what their concerns might be, and, what kind of people are we talking about, that, it's okay to have a conversation with that person who's
I think
not
that
for the project either,
the gentleman
understand
you're
that
speaking
person as
about
well.
has had some issues with people
Yeah.
out there, fishing, leaving trash and
Mhm.
diapers and beer bottles.
Yeah.
We've tried to keep that area as nice as we can, but, unless you catch them doing something wrong, it's kind of hard.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean,
It's a pretty
you
pond,
probably
isn't
know
it?
most of the neighbors here anyway,
Most of them, yes.
so they'd probably like to see you anyway.
I applaud you for doing it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And you're right, there are some pretty neat trails up in there. It's been a while since I've gone up. Wasn't there a big area that there was like a reservoir of water?
Yep, which is up in here.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. All right. So,
Yeah, it would be good if you said hello to, you know, when you
Yeah.
see people out there, just to tell them what you're doing and that you have the do you feel you wanna approve it?
I would say that we should approve it, and the other thing is if somebody has a question, ask them to call me,
Okay.
all right? Then- What happens?
He's got about 500
Hey, give
cards
these-
on his desk. He's been dying to give them.
Take them all.
Yeah, take them all.
Give them to your friends.
Yeah, take a few. All right, you know. But if there's anything we can do to help, you know, also let me know.
Okay.
You know.
And let us know when you are completed so that we have an opportunity to come and visit.
All right.
As well.
That's a very prestigious award that you
Yes.
get.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Stephen, could I have a copy of, I need something for the record, if you presented something, so could I have a copy of what you just gave
Those
us?
2 pages, maybe she could just copy them from you.
Do you have extra copies, or you want me to copy it?
I do not have extra copies.
Anyone else getting ready to do a Eagle project? Yeah, no? You, close?
Thinking about it.
In the early stages.
Something to work.
It won't be long, maybe you can make a trail up around the hill here once we get make maybe a walking trail once the fields go in and everything else. There was another one I noticed one time, if you go in the back parking lot and you look down through the pine trees, they're all in perfect rows.
Yeah.
But all the lower branches are all dead.
Oh, really?
And all the area underneath it could probably used to be cleaned up, but it would make like nice little trails going down through the. So,
Yeah.
maybe check that one out too,
Yeah,
might be a good one.
thank you.
Okay, well, it looks like our next thing will be with the library trustees.
Just about now, 6:45,
minutes.
right?
Is it in there?
Yeah, it's in Natalie out there.
Yeah, I saw it, but not that one.
Are they also here, some of you guys say that you're gonna go to a school committee meeting and listen to a debate? Is that, you doing that as well on this? Or is it just us you're gonna put over the coals?
So a lot of these scouts are working on the citizenship and community America, that's what the majority.
Ooh, this is gonna be a real full house. They brought friends too.
Friends of the library.
Ooh, this is gonna be a really full house.
Unless you're friends with the Boy Scouts, you're not coming.
I will forfeit my chair.
I used to be chairperson of the, whatever, committee.
You're gonna have to come in eventually. Shut up.
Everyone come in, I'm proud you out.
Oh, Miss Dang. Miss Dang.
This is good. You guys should come every week, every other week.
There's gonna be one behind here when we close the door. I think somebody can have it.
People are really interested in this meeting.
Was that everybody? Okay, there's one here for somebody.
Okay, we all in? Okay, next on, we have the library trustees and director. They'd like to talk to us about some plans. So who got lucky enough to talk to us?
Natalie.
We can use the chair for coats if no one wants to sit in it.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having us, and thank you trustees and staff for joining us tonight. We're here to talk to the Board of Selectmen about a grant opportunity that we have through the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. It's called the Planning and Design Grant, and it's a $50,000 grant used to offset the cost of, exploring, expanding, our library. We, staff and trustees, are very committed to having a library building that is the very best for our community. And, there is a matching, as with many grants, there's a matching, local funds matching, portion of it. So it would be, the local match would be $25,000. The Board of Trustees last November voted to expend up to $10,000 of trust fund money to go towards that $25,000. And we would be discussing with the town expending the remainder of that for the matching funds. I have submitted a letter of intent for the grant. Grant application itself isn't due until January 16th, which is right around the corner. But I'd like to actually read to you we were allowed to write exactly 250-word narrative on the letter of intent for this grant, and I'd like to just read to you what was in that. Our building does not meet all the requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act. It lacks automatic entrance doors and adequate space between and at the end of shelving units. The meeting room cannot accommodate large programs and events. Any event for more than 30 to 40 people must be held in the town hall meeting room, which is often unavailable due to it being used by other town departments and boards. A small workroom serves many purposes, including technical services, where we catalog and process new items, a staff break room, UPS deliveries, and interlibrary loans. Library staff must be vigilant in collection management and deaccessions due to the lack of shelving space. This is especially true in the heavily used but very crowded children's and young adult collections. Our building doesn't have any small meeting or study rooms. This becomes evident during busy after-school hours when students arrive to study or meet other tutors. The students and tutors quickly claim what available seating, leaving few chairs and tables for others. We do not have climate-controlled space for our local history collection and archives. And lastly, there is no access to the basement storage area from inside the building, only by an outside bulkhead entrance. Sure. You can actually have that if you want. Or you want a clean copy? So the reason we're here speaking to you tonight is to get a sense of, get a pulse on the community, as far as looking into exploring an expansion of the library building, and discuss sites. The Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners, as far as they're concerned with this application process, they ask us not to be committed to a specific site in this process. This is just, the money for the grant would actually be spent for hiring an architect, an owner's project manager, and a library consultant, to help us test. Ideally, we'd like to stay right here and expand, test this site to see if the soil, et cetera, is feasible to be expanded upon. And so we're kind of here to discuss the process with you first, before anybody else. Anybody else add anything?
I think that we're primarily seeking to find out whether the Board of Selectmen would support us moving forward on something like this, and I think Natalie highlighted it's exploratory in nature. So there's no commitment, it's basically exploring what our options are.
The other thing, I don't have the exact dates, but Natalie, I know that when this grant carries on with the building grants at the Mass Library Board, but you might be able to address that.
Yeah, so every 5 or 6 years, there is a library construction grant round that comes about. So their plan, the Mass Board of Library Commissioners' plan, is to offer the planning and design grant now, so that, and then the next construction grant round would come on the heels of the end of this process. In order to move forward with this, there are a couple of things that would need to happen right at town meeting in, is it April or May? April, the town would need to, need to be 2 warrants on the April town meeting asking for approval to go ahead with the exploratory nature of this project, exploring the expansion of the library. And also the town would need to give permission to apply for, accept, and expend the grant money. So that would all have to be done next spring.
I have a couple of questions. The current library, does it require a complete replacement or a major renovation?
At this point, we don't know. That's what this process is designed for, is to answer those questions, if that makes sense. It's a very kind of complex process, but.
Okay. And as a follow-up question to that, if we needed to rebuild, or in communities that are rebuilding their libraries, just completely replacing them, what percentage is the state contributing?
If those communities apply for and get a construction grant, the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners grant funds almost 50%.
And about 50, which is similar to the schools right now. If we build a new school, we're about,
And we've been told by there are a couple of actual library construction specialists that work as advisors at the Mass Board of Library Commissioners. In fact, one of them was at our trustee meeting in September and gave the trustees a really good presentation and overview of this entire process. And it's this part of it is kind of a 2-year process where if you get the grant to explore the expansion of the library, you then have 2 years to expend that grant money. Because they don't wanna give you $50,000 and just kind of forget about the planning process.
and if there's a major renovation, if you take an existing structure and you just renovate it, what would the percentage be from the state, if you know?
It's the same.
About the same,
It's the
okay.
same, and they've told us that right now, the cost for renovation / expansion or new construction is running about $300 to $400 per square foot. And that new, expansion renovation projects tend to be more expensive than brand new buildings.
All right, thank you.
Have you looked at any other libraries that have expanded to just see if you could borrow their plans? I mean, you said you had $10,000 in trust money. I mean, how much money do you need to spend to get a plan? There's probably several of them out there.
Yeah. From what I understand from the people that do this, that work with libraries and other communities, the planning and the exploration process often goes beyond the $75,000.
And the challenge of that would be that our building is not like another building, so I'm not sure that we could take a cookie cutter approach.
No, you were saying other sites, so I mean, if you were looking at building a new building.
Yeah, I don't think that
I mean-
that's where we are. I think, in a best case scenario, we wouldn't be looking for another site. But unfortunately, we couldn't guarantee that until this process begins and somebody, assesses kind of what the options are.
So, I mean, what is it that you need? I'm talking about if you went into another building and you checked out their, facilities, you're saying ours aren't adequate, they don't meet minimum standards, I'm sure they're still legal. The building is must still be legal, the way it is.
This process also wants the library to be built for the community, so we can't really they wouldn't look well on us if we were to grab somebody else's plan, because we haven't put the thought behind building it for Groveland, not, grabbing Haverhill's library, because
I mean,
their needs
Merrimack
are gonna
just
be.
built a new one a few years back. I mean, I've been there once for a meeting.
Part of the
Yeah.
part of the process in this is to actually form a library expansion feasibility committee, call it what you will, where there would be a cross-section of residents from the community that would help us assess what the community wants in their library.
So that would be all part of this piece. When you have this money, then you'll go out and find out what the community would like.
Exactly.
Okay. As you know, at Bagnell School, what we did, I don't know if you've been over there, Natalie, but but we have a wonderful addition, and, we were able to do that. Yes, we're very proud of the way it turned out, with our building committee. That's what I'm just thinking, is the town able to even think about a brand new library, or are we able to think about adding on to our present library and improving upon what we have there and make it ADA compliant and climate control and all the things that you listed. But, so you're looking hopefully from us to vote to say, go ahead and do this, and perhaps find a way that we can provide some funding for you. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, we wanted, to start with the Board of Selectmen to get a sense of what you think about this. And then the next step would be to meet with the Capital Improvement Committee, to discuss with them, the matching funds.
And the specific amount that we'd be seeking in the matching funds is $15,000, correct? So basically, in our goal to explore this, we've made the vote for the 10,000. Because we don't expect the town to incur all of the expense. We wanna show that we're making a good faith effort to also expend resources that we have. So it would be the $15,000 that we would be seeking for the matching amount.
Greg, I think Greg had a question.
Well, I just had a question, maybe I misunderstood. You said the grant is due in January?
January 16th.
Does the town have to commit to the matching funds at the time you submit the grant? Because then you said later in April, we'd be going to town meeting seeking the funds.
No, we
They're
wouldn't be
okay to-
seeking the funds. In April, we'd be seeking, there would be one warrant asking the town, basically the town's permission to say, go ahead and proceed with exploring the possibility of expanding the library.
So
And
you
the second
don't
warrant.
need the funding commitment when you submit in January?
The funding commitment has to be, the local funding has to be secured by January of 2015.
Ah, very good. You
But I
said
think-
January, it scared me, because I said, January, April, that's.
I think it would be
But, yeah.
important to know, I don't think that our intent would be to move forward if we didn't have the support of the Board of Selectmen. So, part of this is that piece is that, without having the support of the Board of Selectmen, we wouldn't move
Wouldn't
forward.
be moving.
Exactly.
And I don't know whether we need a refresher on the limitations of the current building, besides the horrendous leaking that goes on in the entranceway, the pathway in is flooded and iced and difficult to even enter the building. The back of the building is also the same way. The book drop is iced, all over the place, the windows flood. We are maxed out in space for practically every, meeting that we have. The staff is incredibly, creative in doing things at BZ or here in Town Hall or out in the lawn, but, a lot of variety.
So you're saying this area is not even conducive for a library, is
But
what
we
you're saying?
no,
You're saying it's icing up out here,
it could be I think it could be made. I don't know whether it's sandy, whether it can, that's what the grant is for. Can we go 2 stories? Can we go forward? Can we go back? I don't know.
And the other part that the Mass Board of Library Commissioners wants us to take a look at, there's a question in the grant that says, how will Groveland change in the next 20 years? Because when we're looking at a planning process, they want us to go out to 2034. And so Groveland's population is projected to grow to 8,200 by 2034, and, they really wanna know what's gonna be happening in this town in the next 20 years, and go forward.
I question that number. I don't think we have enough room to grow. I think we've taken all the land that's
I think we bought all that land at the house.
Well,
Government Advisory Committee working on a master plan that would aid in this time.
Right, that's a great idea, because I don't know what the master plan says in terms of, the library. And we're planning to possibly bring that out and help get a strategic sense as to how the library is to be positioned in our community in the next several decades.
Well, Maybe what we should do is schedule a time to go over there and walk through the library with everyone, before we, make a determination on spending another $25,000, 10 of your money and 15 of the town's.
Is it a timing thing because of capital improvement?
It could be, I don't know, what's the timetable for capital improvement? When do they have to
I know
report to the FinCom?
they're doing their little gig now, it's usually January 15th is when they submit their reports out.
Mhm.
But I think that we don't have to have the expenditure of the money. I think it could be a hypothetical, so if the Board of Selectmen were to make a determination that that need existed, they would then approve of appropriating those funds. And I think that might be sufficient to kind of move forward with them as opposed to having a definitive answer, because we can't go before the Capital Improvement Committee not having discussed this with the Board of Selectmen.
I wonder
And
if
we
maybe-
thank you for doing that,
Mhm.
because sometimes people don't stop here, they just go right to capital improvement. Then we learn about it later on.
Maybe we could meet with them there.
We are scheduled for tomorrow night with the capital improvement, I was gonna probably push that up to a
Different
later
date.
date.
Mhm.
And I think a walkthrough is a great idea.
Yeah, we need to have a collaboration with, capital improvement, possibly even the finance board. I think one of the things we will be able to do as this board is support the notion that there is a problem that needs to be fixed. And I think once we communicate that, we're gonna ask our partners in the financial departments to help us figure out if it's possible. And the thing that I would be concerned about is we spent $50,000 and come up with this solution that, okay, we can solve the problem with a $25 million library project, and we can't go to the town and ask for that 50% of that, because, we've got some other things we need to take care of as well, so.
I
So that's
think
my
that-
concern. My concern is an expenditure of a large study, expensive study of something we can't do, can't afford.
Right, but I think to come up with a plan like that would be disingenuous of us. I think it's gotta be a collaborative process, and to come up with a plan for a $25 million library, to me, doesn't feel consistent with kind of where we are right now with the town. So we would be collaborating with the designers and planners to do something that Groveland could do. I mean, we're not seeking to have something that is beyond what Groveland needs. And I don't think that spending $25 million is kind of what we're,
Don't
Right,
let that number
I'm using that as a sample, because I've sat through meetings with the school, and I'm looking at very large numbers to build a new school, and that is coming in the next 36 months. And so we need to be aware that now there's another very big project coming our way, the building of a new school, of which, we as a town have to make a decision, and that's simply my concern. How do we accommodate this project as well?
Well, maybe the bigger picture would be to get together with the school project and maybe build a library on the school property.
Well,
Because I think they gave up most of their library activity
creative solutions.
over the last several years. I don't even know if they have any librarians.
Actually, they have a very good library. I'm a librarian, and I can speak to how good their program is compared to other schools.
Which school is it at?
In Pentucket and middle school.
Oh, they have it at both still?
Yeah,
Okay,
and they
I
still
thought
have
they
one
were
at
cutting one.
Bagnell, but not staffed. But, Hamilton Wenham, did a program of putting their, town library with the schools, and it has been a miserable failure, so, if it was to ever be with it, I wouldn't say replace the school libraries into a big library, it would be, like a standalone or different entity in the school property. But not to replace one or the other, two different populations to be served.
And you had asked a question about support, and I won't speak for my colleagues, I'll speak for myself. I believe that a library is a major driver of quality of life in a town. I do believe that. I do believe if there is a renaissance, it's centered around a building called a library. And so I certainly would support a library, and a possible renovation. My only concern is, can we afford it?
I think that that's a valid concern. I think if we miss this opportunity though, because this isn't talking about tomorrow, so this is a 2-year process, and then the whole building process is another total of 7 years. So this is not something that, if we miss that opportunity, there's not even a guarantee that these grants will be available down the road.
That's a good point.
So it seems that to kind of bypass that piece where where we would at least get some funding towards looking at that, that we'd be remiss if we kind of didn't think about that as a piece of our decision making.
I appreciate that. I think if we can help you as a board establish the need, then we're gonna consult with our colleagues in the finance area of our town, and hopefully we come up with the solutions that we want.
I
Can't do
think
better
that
than
they
that.
should go ahead to capital improvement tomorrow evening, say they've been in
Absolutely.
here, and we've had this conversation.
And say that we'd like to have a group meeting to
And-
review the site and,
To see what the possibilities are over there.
Do you want to send out some dates to Natalie? How would you like to move forward on setting a date to do that walkthrough?
I think the sooner the better, the weather's still mild, on a Saturday. That work for you
Or it
guys?
could be
Does it
any-
work for all of you?
most any night during the week is okay for me too.
Yeah, it's open till 8, 3 nights a week.
Wouldn't you like to see it in the daylight
True.
to see
Yeah,
the
a Saturday would be a good.
things
Yeah,
that Beth
yeah.
spoke about, walkways and
And you'll wanna go to the basement, which is,
I
you know,
will.
mold, ridden, which I've never been to.
It's a fascinating place.
Because it's, you know, you do have historic documents that we need to preserve, and,
We'll have the Boy Scouts lead the way with gas masks.
That's right. Flashlights.
You know what? I had to tour all the buildings with the insurance for a couple weeks. The library basement was amazingly clean this time. Kudos. The guy was like, "This isn't bad compared to usual." I went, "Yeah, it's not." You guys did very well.
So is building a library too big for an Eagle Scout project?
Got a lot of badges on that front.
We could really use the Boy Scouts at the book sale, toting and hauling and.
Good service
Yeah,
project.
Definitely.
You guys get a
May,
badge for that?
Spring.
you've had them before, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, lots of them,
They've been very
different,
helpful, I
Thane
heard.
House, what troop do we have here? Yep, yep, Thane, couple other ones.
And the library and the trustees certainly work hard doing their own fundraising. And they have 2 annual book sales. You know, it's not like you're here and you haven't offered to do the best you could to raise monies, and,
I
we
think what we're,
appreciate
I'm
that.
sorry.
No, that's okay, go ahead.
What we're looking for is a supportive attitude, what we are good at fundraising, we're good at,
Yes, your your
Involving
annual
community.
drive, and,
We're just afraid of the
was a
cost, I
sport
think.
enthusiasm.
The cost factor could be a problem.
That's the.
but as Natalie says, this is exploratory to
Right.
see where we are, and you will all weigh in. I mean, people that don't know us so well, they might say, yeah, well, we can show you plans for a gorgeous library. Well, you know what, that's not gonna work for us, cause we can't afford that.
And there'll be community involvement as part of that as well. So there's a lot of stakeholders that would have the opportunity to be involved in that
Mhm.
process.
And when you tell the historical documents,
I don't want my
there's
taxes
grants.
lost.
Right,
And we're gonna keep it.
That's right.
Reasonable.
We're small and we like it that way, but we wanna do it the best way we possibly can.
And I don't think 50,000 is that far out of whack, because just 2 or 3 years ago was the feasibility study in Bagnell, and that was only 60,000 for that
Right.
whole big thing. So
Right.
50,000 may not be a bad number
It's
for a
not out
feasibility
of-
study. It might be in the ballpark.
Are you talking 50 or 75?
It's 75, because it's 50 from them and 25 from us.
Oh, is it 2/3, 1/3 match?
Yeah.
Oh, so, yeah, you might have got it cheaper then.
I think you should go to your meeting with capital improvement, say you've been in here, and I agree, if it's financially possible.
Oh, absolutely. We don't even have to vote on it, we just can
We-
establish consent that we wanna
It's
support this.
consensus that
Let's
we-
go through the steps,
Let's
absolutely.
look at it and see what we can do, and that's a great committee you're gonna meet with.
Now, Lisa, we're on a committee together, and you know that, the Government Advisory Council, we talked about, for example, the master plan, and you know that master plan has to have a chapter in there that says library. I mean, it absolutely is a center part of our,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but,
I can't believe.
Did you take that home with you from the last meeting?
What's that?
Did you?
I'm going through it slowly.
I mean, I think when we
But-
did, when our previous director started, and then Natalie, we've been very conscientious about the strategic plans that we do every year now, whereas previously that wasn't even something that we had. Part of that strategic plan is looking at various factors on an annual basis and soliciting the feedback from the community about what people want. And, the program development has been pretty much driven by that.
Right.
I actually brought along a blank copy of the grant application, if you wanted to take a look at it. It's nice and long and daunting. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to see you all.
The first one to back down was the guy down the street. We do.
But if instead of mentioning.
What is that, is that an 8,000? Is it an 8,000?
It's probably about.
I like
Okay.
what we did back.
There's a map in my head.
Just wanted to mention one other thing. Over the last few months, we've been spending a lot of time going through a process of hiring a new fire chief. And during that time, there's been a lot of families, people that their families have served the town and they've lost members of their family. I'd just like to send our condolences to everybody and hope everyone's doing well. Just, there's been too much of it lately and it's just, I know Monday there's gonna be the Veterans Day service. Gather you guys will all be there.
We
Okay.
weren't sure what time.
It's at 11 o'clock on Monday in the morning. We just lost the commander, Mr. Hamilton just passed away. So I'm sure it'll be a little bit hectic. They may need some help getting the chairs out, setting up and everything. So, you know, take a look around. If you see the veterans fumbling around, you maybe wanna grab a few things, help them out. They really appreciate you guys coming. Other than that, we had a possible executive session, but is that still?
That's only if you, I didn't know if, whether you wanted to move forward with anything, but.
I think, just clarification on an aspect of open meeting law would be helpful to us in lieu of an executive session.
We had some property use permits, we've signed all the warrants.
You might wanna explain how that works, when people wanna use a field or a building in town. So the scouts
We have
do.
use permits that, people will ask, some people would wanna use like a middle room in the town hall to have a meeting or a, you know, some sort of a, if you guys had your meetings here, but I believe you're at BZ though, right?
We're at the Congregational Church.
Oh, you're meeting at the Congregational Church, okay. So anyway, like Washington Park or Shanahan Field, if somebody wants to hold, a baseball game, they usually sign out the field for certain dates and times. So we have field use permits that, you know, we have to approve. Other things that take place, like the Pine Speedway reunion, you know, they ask permission to use the fields.
Groveland Day.
Groveland Days,
I think you were all there, because you had the best booth going. I saw the crowds.
you know, so, I mean, there's several things that we have to do at our meetings. We don't meet with groups every time, you know, trying to get grant monies and whatnot, but it is good that people come forward, just like yourselves, if you have a Eagle Scout project, you know, it's good that you come in and you talk to us about it and get our support. And that's basically what our role is here, is to help support everybody and make, you know, some decisions that make money expenditures or, you know, it could be somebody that either is hired or put onto an appointed board. We appoint people onto boards. Once you get to be a voting age, we'll have to find something for you guys to do.
Leave your telephone numbers.
So that's pretty much all we had for tonight. Our next meeting is November 18th, tentatively at 6:15 PM. And, make a motion to, close the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much for everything you guys came with. Any questions? Oh, come on. What do you have?
I have a question.
Okay.
About the Pines Park. So
Yeah.
I took it, up too long ago, I saw a plan of what's gonna be happening there.
Yeah.
So, what exactly gonna do with all those extra fields, like all those extra baseball fields and soccer fields, and football field? What
When
are you
they're
gonna-
all done?
Yeah, when all done, what are you expecting to do with all that extra space and football fields and everything?
Well, the furthest point down, where the football field area is, that's like right in the back cove, you know, where the hills all come down.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Initially, the youth football had no field, you know, for their games, practices, or anything else.
I see, so you're,
So initially, we were thinking of making a football field area there with, we even thought we were gonna get turf. So it would've had an AstroTurf field, but over the course of time, the connections went away on that, and now soccer is lacking, you know, a bigger field for soccer space. So, we made the field so that it'll work for either soccer, football, I'm sure you could play lacrosse on it. The other day I did watch some people play rugby, that was different. It was a girls' rugby tournament up at Colby Sawyer College. It was, one score was 104-8. I don't know which team was better.
Is there no mercy rule?
Oh my God, it was brutal. But, so I don't recommend you guys playing rugby.
At least not with girls.
No. You know, so basically, we've only got one softball field that's usable in town. There used to be two almost usable ones behind the Bagnell School.
but now it's kinda down to one.
Well, yeah, because they made one of them for like a bigger Little League field, I think.
And now kinda, I'm guessing, run down.
And the rocks, and they never had an irrigation system out there. So I believe we're working towards getting an irrigation system out there. But as far as over here, we've had, I think it was 5 different groups that were looking to sign out one softball field. So initially, we got the lights put up so that they could play into the night, but the night games cost, I believe, $25
For the lighting?
for running the lights for a game.
One
So-
night or for like a week?
No, for the 1 hour-and-a-half game. It was like
25,000?
$25. If we could get $25,000, the field would be done.
We could do the library.
I'll have you work on that. But, so basically, you know, we're looking to put at least one more softball field, but we're hoping to be able to fit 2. So then if the programs are there, you know, there's nothing better than getting everyone out there playing. We've got the one Babe Ruth field. West Newbury has one, there's one behind Pentucket, and there's one in Merrimack. So between the 3 towns, we have tentatively 4 fields that, you know, you can play on. So, but with the softball, Merrimack didn't have a softball field, I don't believe that, Pentucket could use, so they use ours. This is where the varsity plays. The JV plays in front of the school, which they're talking about some new configuration of a stadium out there, so I don't know how that's gonna play into the softball. So we were just looking ahead, to get the space that we had here, use it a little better. We had to move almost 400,000 yards of sand.
Yes, I have seen the fans.
Yeah, in order to get that space. We're also gonna try and get a couple of tennis courts in, because a long time ago, there was a big interest in tennis courts.
And
And-
it never happened.
Well, we just never had the space. We had it in Groveland Square. That actually used to be a tennis court.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Then it was basketball, tennis. When we were younger, we used to flood it in the winter and skate there. So the problem being is it broke up all the hot top, because when the water is flooding in there, every crack gets the water down in it
Yeah,
and
and
it
it's
breaks
all
it.
run down.
Same thing happened behind the South Fire Station. We used to flood that for skating too.
And then it cracks.
It all cracked cracked, and now there's no berms, so it's just basketball.
Got
So we're just trying to, get as much space for the programs that are out there. We added 2 little softball fields down here already,
yeah, I see them.
okay? And as soon as we added those for soccer, they started a flag football program. Okay, so as fast as we can make a field, they have a new program for it. And that's why we have to have the field sign-out permits, because if people just show up to start playing,
And there's no fields.
and somebody already has it signed out, it's
Then
theirs.
it can have a problem, I see.
Right.
Got it.
And you know what we did with all that, Sam?
I'm guessing sell it to get more money for the town.
That's right.
Good answer.
All the money that's been brought in from selling sand has to be used on that site. That was what the town voted way back when they purchased the property. Any money that came in from the property had to be spent on the property. So, we should have ample amount of money. We're gonna put a bathroom in, I believe, and possibly a snack shack like they have at Washington Park,
Improve, we improving the playground?
and we'll have some parking, with
Boat ramp?
boat ramp. We're planning to put in a cement boat ramp, so people don't get stuck trying to launch their boats. So,
I see.
try to do a good plan. It's all drawn up too,
Yeah,
if you'd like to see it.
Yeah, I saw it not too long
You
ago.
saw it, okay. Anyone else? Come on, pressure me. All right, we appreciate you coming, and,
Thank you very much for having us.
no, thank you for everything you guys do.
Adagio and Allegro from Beethoven's Sextet for Winds, performed by Consortium Classicum here on 99.5 WCRB Classical New England. Beethoven wrote that when he was in his late teens, early 20s, and Mendelssohn was in his late teens when he wrote the string quartet that we're about to hear, his second string quartet,